You've seen Bow Only run. You've seen Caestus Fists run. But there is one unique weapon not many people talk about. When people do talk about it, they usually say it's the worst weapon in the game. Seriously, only this guy said that this weapon is his favorite. That says a lot. That weapon is... the Great Machete. Great Machete is a weapon which is described as the spooky weapon. I mean, it's a machete chained to a big stick. Looks kinda funny to me. Great Machete is a Reaper weapon. That means it has ranged slash attacks. But in order to be fully effective, it has to hit an enemy from a certain distance. If you don't hit an enemy with that sweet spot, then you'll either miss or deal way less damage. And that can be an issue. Great Machete has very low durability. That means that I'll have to be careful with how I approach certain areas, and I'll have to decide whether I'll fight or just skip enemies in order to preserve durability. Great Machete also uses up a lot of stamina, therefore endurance is important. I have decided to play a run using this as my only melee weapon, except in the beginning. I will be a devil's advocate and I'll try to convince people that this weapon is not nearly as bad as some might say. In fact, one could even say that it's underrated.
Roll credits.
I will occasionally use some ranged weapons for some really sticky situations, but great majority of time I will be using Great Machete. I will not be playing DLCs and I won't beat Dark Lurker because... I'm too good at this game. I will be playing Dark Souls 2 vanilla version simply because I've played Scholar of the First Sin edition and wanted to see how easier or harder it was compared to Scholar of the First Sin edition. Let's get started.
You lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
Nemoj mi se smijati, proklet bio!
While many Reapers are dexterity-based weapons, Great Machete is one of the few Reapers that has better scaling in strength than dexterity. That's why for this run I'll be playing a strength build. My first priority in this run will be getting the weapon as soon as possible. The weapon is a rare drop, dropped by none other than Geller? Goller?
Jailer.
Yeah, those guys. These guys are located in Lost Bastille. In order to get there, I will have to fight the last giant and the pursuer in the Forest of Fallen Giants. So of course I did what many beginners do and went to Heidi's Tower of Flame first. Why? Because I like it when big tough guys hold me down. By beating the Dragon Rider first, using my extremely superior skills, I can get access to Huntsman's Corpse. There I did not die a single time. Like, not at all. And I got Prisoner's Hood from the... well, prisoners I guess. This item gives me better drop rates, which is important because Great Machete is considered rare loot and I really want to get this weapon as fast as possible. Then I went to the forest. I've decided to rush this area only to fight the last giant and the pursuer and come back later to explore.
Yeah! Yeah, 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 yeah.
U redu, dečki, razjebimo ovu gajbu. Ajmo jebači.
Alright, time to beat this guy in first try. I'm a good Souls player, I promise. When I played for the first time, I've beaten this boss easily because I missed him on my first run. Dragon Slayer was the first boss I've beaten, and by the time I got to the forest, I was so over-leveled that I got him easily. Also, this boss is a bit nerfed in Scholar. Just give me more time and more life gems and... There we go. After finally dealing with the giant, I rushed to the pursuer. Even though I'm weak, I managed to beat him with Ballista on my first... I said first? Okay, almost first try. Then this big Pokemon flew me to the Lost Bastille, where I've bullied some jailers until... And now we can start macheting everyone. Let's see how good this weapon is. The damage looks pretty good. First light attack is a big swing from the right. Then we have a swing from the left and then from the right again. The swing from the left has way shorter range. This is off-putting to many players. Personally, I don't mind it. If the enemy is close enough, and they will be, then I can do extra damage. If not, then I will just wait for another opportunity. I did not understand the sweet spot mechanics yet, nor did I know how good charged heavy attack was. I thought it was bad, but again, it's because I did not understand that I have to hit with the sharp blade, not the stick. I have upgraded, grinded and upgraded my Great Machete again to +2. Then I have fast traveled and explored the rest of the map from the other side due to low durability. Now I've started to realize how good heavy attacks can be. Not only do they deal solid damage when I hit right, but I can also bypass shields. I then remembered that I have a ring from Pursuer which increases my damage.
Ja sam lud. Ja sam lud. Ja ću se ubiti. Ja ću se stvarno ubiti.
I got the Majula mansion key and continued exploring.
I have always been very fond of maps. Were you looking for that map?
I'm not into maps. I can't carry them. I have only underpants.
Shame on you.
I couldn't beat these guys so easily. One problem was the fact that I did not think of using one-handed attacks. They would be more appropriate in this situation. I upgraded my machete again and tried once more. As I was exploring a bit further, I got worried that my weapon might break. I wasn't sure whether I should continue, use the repair powder, or go back. I've decided to push on until I got to the next bonfire. That was kinda intense experience. After easily beating Ballista Gang inside, I finished this little challenge for a very useful item which I will certainly use. Then I continued to explore the rest of the area for a bit. I will explore the rest of the forest later. Time to go to Lost Bastille. Before I get there though, I had to revisit Heidi's Tower of Flame to pick up Ring of Binding for extra health. I also had to visit the blacksmith so that I can upgrade Great Machete to +5. Honestly, I did not expect to encounter a gang fight here.
For the Horde!
I thought that it was only a thing in Scholar of the First Sin. Not this time, guys. I bought another repair powder. Time to fight my first boss using Great Machete. This boss was difficult for me. I guess I still had to learn how to use Great Machete, but I also had to relearn how to fight one dude on small platform and then two of them in a larger area. The key decision here was to fight two of them without lock-on. That way I could keep an eye on both of them.
Switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm all right.
This bonfire sucks in vanilla. I went to the forest again and opened Pharaoh's door so that I could get another ring important for my run. Chloranthy ring. It increases stamina recovery speed, which, as I've said already, is crucial. Then I remembered the exact location of the Bracing Knuckles ring for better durability. This is gonna help me a lot. After I explored Sinner's Rise for a bit, I realized that I cannot access those side rooms right before Lost Sinner. That's because in Vanilla DS2, the key is somewhere else. Time to test this weapon in No Man's Wharf. Initially I had some issues, but then I progressed normally. The key problem at one point was low durability. Even though I had Bracing Knuckle Ring, there are a lot of enemies I had to deal with in this area. That's why here I had to use my first repair powder. Gavin had an interesting ring to sell, but I've decided not to buy it because I already had other rings which I deemed more important.
Titanic just arrived.
Before I went to the boss, I of course had to open the shortcut in case I die. I was unpleasantly surprised to find out that in vanilla version the shortcut did not cut too much of my path. The bridge in Scholar version was much better in my opinion. After leveling up, it was time to run towards the boss and beat him.
Enough! We settled this here!
First try, guys. For real this time. A little side note. Before exploring No Man's Wharf, I've beaten Dragon Slayer. Since there was no dragon in this version, this part was so easy that I forgot about it up to this point. That's because I'm very organized. Time for an over-the-top sound effect for a completely normal boss fight. At Belfry Luna, the dwarves annoyed me a bit, but at least the boss wasn't really an issue. Look, it was so easy. Time for the last sinner. Oh wait, what if I just get good and dodge on the other side?
Gospodine, usliši nas.
Time to properly explore Huntsman's Copse. Once I got the Pharaoh's key, most of this exploration was nothing special. I've even managed to win the gang fight right before the chariot boss and the red dude in front of the entrance. I managed to run past the enemies and use this platform to avoid all combat. The problem was that it took me multiple times to beat this boss, and sometimes when I jumped onto the platform, not all enemies would leave. That's why I resorted to a ranged option here. The boss man was a bit of an issue. The skeletons would abuse me too often and I couldn't hit the necromancer so easily. I used one-hand overhead attacks for them. I also realized that I should fight skeletons even though they will respawn. That will slow them down for a while and it will give me more time to beat the necromancers. Once I stopped the horses, the fight was easy. Later, my biggest challenge was getting to that shard lizard. Ranged option helped me here. Took out the boss from a second try. Wheel skeletons in this game are way better than in Dark Souls 1. The area in which I fight them gives me more cover from them. Also, there are way fewer of them here than in previous game.
I got a bone to pick with you.
This is my boomstick!
In Harvest Field, I suffered from heavy pollution. It's like you're living next to an old factory, way stronger than microplastics. But after a while, you get used to it. If you can't beat it, live with it, I guess. But as I was fighting the gang fight in this area, I learned how to utilize one-hand overhead attacks. If I wield the weapon with one hand only, the first light attack is an overhead attack, followed by a short-range pull attack, and then another overhead attack.
Machete improvises.
I've used it before, sure, but now I've decided to use it more often. That made this fight way easier. From this point onward, I switched to one-hand attacks in small and tight spaces. I even got the lizard this way. Great Machete plus 7? In this economy? Before GTA 6? After a bit of back and forth, Jabba the Hutt was fun and simple as always. Going up, I used the ranged option again because these guys were very annoying.
Help! Help!
I think the platforming gets a bit easier after a while. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. I paid this guy so much only to get a very useless loot. I can't imagine anyone using it in any way. Without the poison, this boss was kinda easy, I guess.
You think you can take me? You need a fucking army you're gonna take me! Yeah?
To the grave of saints. Royal Red Vanguard fight was easier than I thought it would be. It took me 2 tries to beat him. I thought that I won't be able to attack horizontally because of the tombstones, but most of the time there were no problems with that. The gutter was gutting. And Gulch was gulching. The Rotten boss fight was easy. In my first playthrough it took me multiple attempts. This time I've beaten him on my first try. That's because this weapon is good. Time for the Iron Keep. I think I'm gonna skip this. This part is infamous in Scholar of the First Sin. It is known for its infamous gang fight. In this version, this archer is certainly annoying. That archer is not here in Scholar version. Other than that, I don't feel many differences between this and Scholar version. I was so good at beating the Smelter Demon that he begged for mercy. But I did not care, and I've beaten him on my first try. Here is the evidence. After having some technical difficulties, Old Iron King was no more. In Shaded Woods, I picked up a better Chloranthy ring and went to Shaded Ruins.
I got a stick. Ooh, I got a stick. Ooh, I got a stick. Oh yeah, I got a stick. I got a stick. Good stick.
I did not expect this guy here. Interesting choice in vanilla. I went back to the forest again. Then I got lost in Shaded Ruins until I remembered and I got to the Scorpioness Nika.
Good stick!
I explored Door of Pharos for a while. Unfortunately, I did not beat the Red Authority because at the time I did not have enough Pharos keys and I forgot about it later. Next time I will beat him, I promise. The biggest challenge here was this lizard. Again. Come to think of it now, I'm not even sure if I've beaten this lizard. But at least I've managed to upgrade my machete to +10, so I don't care. Yahoo! Brightstone Cove of Tseldora was interesting. The Congregation boss was easy and fun. It was nice to see how much damage I deal with only one hit.
Gospodine, usliši nas.
But what was really unique was the fact that, unlike in Scholar version, the spiders in vanilla are not afraid of fire. That means I had to fight them and use up durability. I thought that this was going to be an issue, but in reality it was fine. I explored it without many problems. Except this door, which I closed on accident. greatest boss ever to exist. Another repair is in order. Now I'm ready for the Duke's dear Freya. Again, the spiders are not afraid of the fire. Even though I thought that it's gonna be the issue during the fight, it didn't bother me that much. I merely avoided the spiders and moved to the other head of the boss when they tried to gank me. It was in this fight that I learned how sweet spot mechanics work.
Do a barrel roll! Do a barrel roll! Barrel roll! Barrel!
Another first try. Only now did I remember to equip better Chloranthy ring.
Ja ću se ubiti. Ja ću se stvarno ubiti.
Then I thought to myself, maybe I should get better versions of my other rings. And so I fought the Pursuer in Iron Keep to get better ring of blades. Done. Then I did something which made me a bit nervous. I used Bonfire Ascetic in order to revive the Executioner's Chariot. I'm scared. I never did this before and I did not know if I'll be able to beat him.
Do a barrel roll!
Even though I've managed to beat the red dude, I was unpleasantly surprised to see him here again later. Luckily though, I learned how to avoid all of these enemies and just go to the boss without dying. I even didn't have to use ranged weapons. Felt good to be able to beat the boss after using Bonfire Ascetic. Yeah, give me that stamina regeneration! Drangleic Castle is known to be challenging, but since this was my second playthrough, it was not that hard. I bought better bracing Knuckles ring, I knew where the first bonfire was, and I managed to deal with the enemies near the bonfire. First time around I skipped this part, but now I managed to beat them and explore all of this. Time to beat the Dragon Rider boss duel. After exploring even more of the castle, it was time to deal with the cool-looking Glass Knight. And cool he was. He coolly summoned extra enemies. Twice! Now it's the time for this knight to shatter like a fake diamond. At least he was more ethical than real diamonds. Shrine of Amana was another beast. I've managed to deal with other areas, but even though I've beaten this game once already, I still had serious problems with this one. I know that there are some differences between Vanilla and Scholar here, but to me it felt similarly difficult. I used Crossbow to deal with the mushroom here because I couldn't be bothered to unequip and equip my items again just to protect my gear from breaking. I also used Ranged here because I did not know how to deal with these sorceresses otherwise. Demon of Song was a meme level of difficulty as per usual.
Peekaboo!
In Undead Crypt, I found another bracing Knuckles ring.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Do you have time to talk?
They brought shields into a naked Reaper fight.
I'm gonna do what's called a pro gamer move.
Mission's complete. Good job. Head back to talk.
Then I went to the Velstad boss. I remembered how in Scholar version there are multiple enemies in this area who rush to the bell to summon more enemies. In Vanilla there is only one, but it took me a while to beat him because my horizontal slashes would always hit the bell. The bossman himself was a field trip. After taking a bath in Aldia's keep and dealing with unwanted guests in my humble home, it was time for the Guardian Dragon. I need another take.
This is an experiment!
The exploration of mountains in Dragon area was fine. It was so normal that it got a bit boring. Nothing ever happens here. Then I got to the dragon. In my first playthrough I haven't beaten him, so this was my opportunity to experience this boss fight for the first time. I also knew that his soul makes the fight with King Vendrick easier.
Upichute, goddamn! This is an experiment!
Now that I got the dragon's soul, let's see how weak King Vendrick is. Okay, so I had no idea that in order to have a more fair fight, you need to get more giant souls. So I fought the giants in Gulch and visited old memories in Forest of Fallen Giants where those souls are. time for the final showdown between me and a weak old man. Warning, I do not condone mistreatment of elderly. Outside of imaginary dark fantasy worlds.
I don't listen. I just had you now, any child I can see the view more, was he Mombo?
Said his head, he only chopped him down because he couldn't see the view no more, what's he Mombo?
As I've said in the intro, I couldn't beat Dark Lurker. I tried so many times that enemies on the way to the boss despawned. That's how critical it all was. I also felt unprepared for the DLC, but next time I might give it another shot. Endgame time! Now it's time for Endgame. Oh no, I forgot about the end game. And that concludes this run. It was an interesting and fun run for me. Maybe I could have used armor, but I chose to do roly-poly instead. Durability was occasionally a bit of an issue, but to be honest, it wasn't that big of a deal. With a bit more careful approach, a few repair powders, and bracing knuckle rings, it's doable. I also like the overall damage on this weapon. It's pretty solid. Overall, I kinda liked Scholar version more than this one, and I'll be playing Scholar in the future. Later version feels more refined in my opinion. I plan on playing another run with this weapon in the future, but with a different build and without bracing knuckle ring. If you like this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. I intend to play more Soulsborne games. I also plan on playing Souls-likes because they are like Soulsborne games and I like them.